I get messages and emails from people every single day, but some of them you just don't forget, and this is one of them. I'm going to read a letter that I got from someone that is absolutely shocking. This absolutely is one that you cannot just breeze right past. And honestly, I'm going to go ahead and say trigger warning, okay? Let's get into the letter. Dear Lisa, I don't even know how to explain this without feeling like I sound totally dramatic. He's never pointed at me. That's just the part that keeps messing with my head. It just sits there. Sometimes it's on the table, sometimes it's next to him on the couch. And when I bring up leaving him, he'll touch it. He doesn't grab it, just like taps it or rests his hand on it. He doesn't even say anything. I know what he's doing. And then I start thinking, maybe I'm overreacting because technically he didn't threaten me. He didn't say, I'll hurt you. He didn't do anything that I can prove. I actually called the police once because I was scared, and they basically told me there's nothing they can do unless he directly threatens me or uses it. Now I feel stupid for even being scared. But the truth is I am scared. And the worst part is I still question myself. Like maybe he just feels safer having it nearby. Maybe I'm reading into it. Maybe I'm making this worse than it is. But every time he does it, my body reacts. I get quiet and I honestly stop talking about leaving because I'm too scared. So I change the subject and then things go back to normal. And I don't know if this counts as abuse or I'm just letting my anxiety get the best of me. I feel crazy even writing this. I don't know if you'll respond. I decided to turn this into a much bigger response because the truth is this is something that too many women are facing. Now, for those that don't know me, my name is Lisa Sonni. I'm a certified relationship coach. I'm an expert in domestic violence, abusive and toxic relationships. I've written 5 books, including the newest, Coming Back to You. I want people to see that this is abuse. Now, I assume that there are other things going on because why is she threatening to leave? Why does she want to leave? Why is he tapping this weapon? So I want to break down why this is so scary and what's really going on here. Let's expose what he's really doing. Now, this is a really interesting threat, right? It's very coercive and he doesn't have to say the words because the behavior itself is the message. The timing is really interesting. The silence is actually part of it. The fact that he doesn't speak is a huge sign. He waits until she brings up leaving. He touches the gun and we're thinking, well, maybe he just feels safer with the gun there. This is a really good example of gaslighting, right? Because to any of us, it might seem so obvious. But when you're in a relationship like this and some of this sort of intimidating, scary things that these guys do, it's lost on us in the moment because we do not want to believe that our partner would threaten us. But this is actually landing exactly how he meant it to. He wants to make this really quiet threat, right? No words. He didn't point anything at her. He didn't hold anything up to her. He just touched it, just kind of letting her know quietly that it's there. And that changed her behavior. She stops bringing it up. She changes the subject and she doesn't talk about leaving. And here's the really interesting thing, right? Why doesn't he just say it out loud? Well, because then it's provable. It's reportable because then there's consequences. So he does this on purpose. He keeps it implied. I talk a lot on my channel about plausible deniability. This is one, right? I didn't threaten her. Oh my God, I didn't know that she would take it that way. Oh, it wasn't what I meant at all. He could easily get himself out of that. But he stays just inside the line, but it's just enough to scare you, not enough to be held accountable. That is controlling behavior. There's no accident about that. This guy knows exactly what he's doing. But when this happens, I want people to look at not just what he does. Now, I did a series last year where I asked women to tell me in the comments some of the most violent, unhinged, diabolical things that abusers have ever done. And I got over 1,000 comments outlining unbelievable things. There are women all over the world that are facing things just like this. So for people that think, oh, this is so rare, God, I bet this never happens. Wow, she's crazy for staying. This is unbelievably common. So when you look at why he's doing this, right, it's tied to her leaving. It's tied to her walking away from him. It's also very much tied to her autonomy. When she says, I want to leave or I don't want to be here anymore or asks to be treated better, any of these things, this is his response to scare her, to intimidate her, but in a really covert way. And again, people might think that's not covert. It is covert. This is an exact example of what covert is. So many people think that covert abusers will never make threats like this, or they never yell. They think that covert abusers are always the nice guys. Covert means that people don't see it until they do. It means that the public may not totally see it. But these guys, sometimes the covert ones, they will scream at you behind closed doors. They will use weapons. They will do all kinds of things that you don't expect. Don't ever think that he's not as bad as somebody who's more overt or willing to yell at you in public. They're all dangerous. One could even argue that in many ways they're more dangerous because nobody sees this. This is always behind closed doors, and this is exactly the kind of guy that does it. He's using intimidation, but there's no evidence of it because he didn't yell. She couldn't record him doing anything, right? What would show up on the camera? Nothing. He didn't do anything. There's no direct threat. There's no witnesses. There's no proof. But your behavior changes. And when your behavior changes, you get quiet. He learns that this works. You stop the conversation. You don't bring it up again. You decide, okay, it's too scary to leave. People act like, well, why doesn't she just leave? She's terrified to leave. Anyone would be terrified to leave. People act like if I was in that situation, I would make a completely different decision. Yeah, you're using all of your brain cells to make that determination when you're not in fight or flight, when you're not in survival, when there is no threat against you and you have the full faculties of your nervous system. You think you would make a different decision. But the truth is, when you're in it, you don't know what you would do. People think they know. Everyone thinks they would leave. Everyone hears stories like this and they think, this is unbelievably obvious. Of course I would leave. No, you might not. You don't know what you would do. I fully believe that in this woman's case, her body knows what's going on before her mind even accepts it, right? She's not calm. She's not calm at all. She doesn't even know how to stay grounded. I'm sure that she shuts down. That's why she just changes the subject, maybe starts to fawn, freezes a little bit. She's living in a survival response. So she tries to de-escalate the situation by changing the topic, and then he has learned this behavior works. And to cope with all of this confusion and fear, her brain says, maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe it's nothing, That's the split of being in a relationship like this. It seems obvious on the outside, but when you're in it, you are holding these two different realities. Because this is a man who is undoubtedly kind to her sometimes. Obviously, he's abusive and threatening, but he's probably also kind, as all abusive relationships have this cycle of abuse, kindness, and cruelty. And it is exactly what makes us sit in this horrible world of cognitive dissonance, where we're sitting here going, but he loves me, but he mistreats me. He threatens me, but maybe he's not threatening me. And our brains just choose the option that feels easier, that feels more palatable. To see that he is abusive, that he is threatening her with a weapon, that is too much for her. Her brain is unconsciously protecting her. It's doing what it's supposed to do. She's questioning herself, obviously. There's no clear evidence. He didn't make any kind of statement. There's no, this is what he said that she can repeat to the police. So her mind just fills in the gaps and tries to make it logical and explain it away because nobody wants to believe that their partner would intentionally do this. Nobody wants to believe that they are in danger. But all of this is how he's building self-doubt in her, and this works to his advantage, right? This benefits him that she feels this way. Now, I find it really interesting here. We can't not talk about the law enforcement piece, right? The legal threshold has nothing to do with safety. The nothing we can do thing, which is maddening to say the least, is not the same thing as nothing happened. A police officer telling you that there is nothing they can legally do in that moment doesn't mean that you're not in danger. Systems respond to evidence, but your body responds to a threat, and those are not the same thing. Now, I'm not going to go into a tangent on this particular video about law enforcement, but oh my God, it makes me crazy when we can't do anything to help victims that are in this situation. He is hiding behind plausible deniability, and it works because the system was designed for that to work. This is exactly how you know that he's doing it on purpose because he knows the legal threshold. That's the point. On a more broad scale here, let's call this exactly what it is. This is coercive control, and it's in one of the most scary forms because he doesn't have to physically stop her from walking out the door. He literally changes your behavior without even touching you. You stop bringing things up. You stop pushing. You stop leaving. You don't mention leaving anymore. That is control. Right? The weapon is not a prop in the room, just a decoration. The weapon is part of the message. a nice silent one that you can't get him on. So over time, you avoid topics and you manage yourself and you think ahead and you self-censor because you are terrified. And it's nothing to do with him telling you these things overtly. This is just how it builds in you because of fear. So no, she's not overreacting. Her reaction matches the situation perfectly because the fear has context. It makes sense. Her body is responding to a pattern. He's done this before, right? She described this as a pattern. It's not one moment. So in no way is she creating meaning out of nothing. He doesn't have to say it. The message is landing exactly how he wants it to. If you're in a relationship like this, if you are in a damaging, abusive, harmful relationship like this, you need to get help. You can contact a domestic violence hotline or work with a qualified therapist or coach on safety planning. I work with women on safety planning, breaking trauma bonds, getting themselves out safely, and rebuilding after they've left. You can work with me one-on-one or join any of my group coaching programs. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.